So today we have two co-founders of AppEQ. I will introduce to the co-founders here. And I recently talked to, AppEQ, and it was a fascinating conversation. So I thought it would make for a great, conversation for my listeners and viewers. So, without wasting any more time, let me kind of let both the gentlemen here introduce themselves. So I'll start with Manoranjan. Why don't you go first, and then we'll move to Rajat.
Yeah, thanks, Shankar, and first of all, thanks for having us here. I have gone through some of your channels, especially around the QBR, very fascinating because that has been one of our, core, I would say, practice around customer success, right? How do you show value about customer success? So that I've been very passionate. I really love some of the things. So thanks for having us here. So a little brief about myself. My name is Manoranjan, in short Mano. I am one of the co-founder of AppEQ AI. Before this, before starting up, so AppEQ AI is a very fresh, newly formed. We have been around for 4 months or so. Before this, I was heading customer success organization at Whatfix. So the tremendous journey from a very early stage to from the early validation to all the way towards extreme growth stage and the scaling stage. So it's a huge learning, both from a professional standpoint as well as customer success standpoint. So that is more around the customer success experience. Before that, I used to be a co-founder again for a previous one more startup, which is around appointment scheduling systems for salons and spas. And yeah, before that, more around product development, around banking systems, analytic systems, and so on. So yeah, that's a brief about me.
Oh yeah, thanks, Manu. Rajat, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot, Shankar, for this opportunity. Yes, going back, so I and Manu, we go back from the engineering days. We studied together in computer science, and then have been involved in SaaS myself. I've had a startup in education, more B2B SaaS in India, and scaled up to 300 customers. Had a decent success there, and then got we've been thinking over the problem areas around SaaS, how it's growing, and how what are the various different gaps as we go forward in the subsequent in our discussion. And that's where I and Manu have been over a couple of years been ideating on various ideas. And late last year is when we sort of started concretizing of what are the key sort of gaps which we can really fill in the whole ecosystem of SaaS and the bigger play in general around customer success specifically. So I think so. Without further ado, we'll maybe get going about what we are building at AppEQ.
Yeah, Rajat, you beat me to it. So actually, that is my next question. So the actual problem statement and what is it that AppEQ is trying to accomplish? Manoranjan, you want to take that?
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the things that I see when we scaled organizations and when we did interviews that resonated was, as the number of SaaS apps increases in an organizations, what happens is, obviously SaaS apps brings a lot of value. That's why people are adopting more and more such apps. But the challenge that comes is the data is siloed and the cross-team collaborations become challenging. So that is the crux of the I would say the problem that we are trying to solve.
Okay. Anything you want to add, Rajat, to that?
Yeah, I mean, yes. One of the another element which we saw was the whole pandemic, which sort of also speeding up the whole adoption around SaaS and the adjacent area which we are sort of covering in AppEQ is around collaboration of diverse teams, right? So those are the two sort of, I would say, the pivotal domains which sort of merged in when we were ideating and creating the AppEQ sort of product, is around SaaS, and how collaboration per se has much wider applicability today with remote teams as a default working environment.
Okay. No, thanks for that. So, Rajat, now that we have a good handle on the problem statement around data silos and the growth of SaaS, and how do you work across these data boundaries or organizational boundaries and such. So how does AppEQ change the life of a CSM? So, just think of me, as a CSM. I'm working today and I don't have a solution, at my workplace. And then tomorrow my magically, the tool, it appears. So how would my 8 hours of working time today be different than 8 hours working time day after tomorrow? Let's assume tomorrow it takes for me to install the AppEQ solutions. And how is my day today, and how is my day on day after tomorrow?
Right. Yeah. So, I'll briefly touch upon two key areas, and maybe Manu can add to it. The first thing which we sort of resonated very well with our discussions with various CSMs, as well as in our uh, uh, design partners who we have been working with in the past few months. One is the element of context switching, right? So, most of the CSMs will be out of their base application, whether it's a CS tool or they are working out of the CRM platform or on their product, right? And today, when they are sort of collaborating with their colleagues in the CS organization or in the adjacent teams like support and the accounts team, there is an element of they have to go to, say, Slack or Teams and then share various data points. Though there are some level of data integrations, but then there's a lot of context switch in terms of data sharing and also in terms of visibility, right? Not all the teams are able to sort of get into the other platform. Their learnability, the challenge, license could be another challenge. So that's where that was the sweet spot where how do we bring in more level of collaboration, right? At the context of where they are working, right? At the level where they are working. So the applications which they are working, and how do we bring the collaboration right inside that? And that's the primary area which we were sort of working around. And how do we do it? Shankar, would you want me to sort of dwell into the solution part of it? How are we trying to build that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, before
Okay.
that, I just
So,
want to add, yeah, Rajat, before that, I just want to add one interesting way from a customer success standpoint, right? So even before we go into the customer success role, but I would say that the whole way customer success is deployed and how it can be successful in organizations, one of the key learnings or the realization that I saw is one person cannot drive customer success. One department cannot drive customer success. It requires across departments to kind of function in a well-oiled kind of synergy, so that the delivery of the experience to the customer goes there, both in terms of experience as well as in terms of value, right? So that is I felt that's a huge learning, and which is why I always have firmly believed that for some customer success to be deployed successfully, we have to first imbibe the culture of customer first across the teams. So that is one of the fundamental, I would say, challenge of customer success. A lot of deployments where I see customer success being deployed, CSM is doing a lot of things. They are trying to boil the ocean in terms of, hey, product team, you have to do this, your support team, you have to do this, account management, and so on, right? So there's a lot of things which, if the teams are well aligned and they understand, I think it is the CSM role will not be so, I would say, sometimes you feel that, hey, am I doing a lost cause, right? Customer success day in, day out, you're just pushing the teams to say that, hey, we have to do this and so on. So that was one of the thing which we felt that, hey, can we drive customer first as a culture through by bringing in data transparency across teams, the right data across teams, right? So can we bring the customer challenges in front of our product team, UX team, documentation team, our sales team, how when they sell to a wrong set of not so fit customers, what is the problem that we face? So users kind of make sure that it's transparent, and that people have a layer of collaboration so that they can collaborate well, right? So then I think a lot of this customer first and the problems kind of will start thing. So that is one of the core hypotheses with which we are approaching this solution building. So and one of that is what Rajat said around the context, right? How do you bring that right context in the conversations that we have?
Okay. No, so one kind of follow-up question on the solution side of things, especially when the context, you mentioned context. I mean, let's say a CSM one is a junior CSM, and then let's say CSM two is a senior CSM, and CSM one may not have permissions to view all the data that CSM two might have. But when you're trying to provide the context, how do permissions and privilege to view various data elements, how does that play into the solution?
Yeah, currently we have made it as transparent as possible until and unless the request comes for making sure that certain data we want to do it by role segmentation, right? So based on the role, I would want to segment the data and so on. In all our interviews that we have had so far it's more right. Okay, we want it visible. We don't want so much of around things. But obviously there are certain segments of industry which are very data sensitive and role sensitive. So there we have had cases where we said that, hey, do you think that maybe certain conversations can be limited on certain accounts for a set of people only, and so on. But in general, the sense is like, hey, if it is customer success within the customer success team, I think it's kind of okay. Even with the support team, support data flowing into the customer success teams, that's okay, because in today also, you go to help desk, you generally have one or two common licenses, or maybe sometimes across all the teams licenses, to kind of say that, hey, I want to see my accounts information. And most of the tools have some deeper integrations to bring some level of visibility around that, right?
Okay. So, so we actually will move from solution to kind of what, you and Rajat see as market trends in the space that you're playing in. I mean, maybe it might be good to start off with the space that you're playing in, right? So who you think are your competitors? Who do you think are your ecosystem neighbors? And what trends do you see? I mean, in terms of where the market is headed in 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, that type of time frame. And then the second part, once we are with done with this part of the question, the second part is how will AppEQ evolve in this changing ecosystem, changing landscape, changing market trends, market forces. I've talked to a few people myself, and the pandemic has changed a lot of things. Some for good, some for not so good. Some we still don't know whether they're good or bad, right? So like, for this whole hybrid workplace, people are still debating, oh, it's great, no, it's not. You're moonlighting, no, it's good, no, it's not. So there are lots of these kinds of topics that are still being actively, discussed in the social media across channels, whether it's Twitter or LinkedIn or what have you, or anything else. But anyway, so back to the first part of my question, how do both of you see the market evolving in the next 1 to 2 years? Maybe, Manoranjan, we can start with you.
Yeah. So I mean, purely from a customer standpoint, first, okay, let me tackle the first one, which is like, which is the adjacent market and so on. So, so if I were to kind of draw some certain diagram, so one diagram is, there's an element of collaboration. We said that, as SaaS systems starts getting adopted, data is siloed, and the team's collaboration kind of is getting truncated. I wouldn't say that there is no collaboration, but it's getting truncated. Within the support team, they have the support systems, help desk data. CS has certain engagement data. CRM has certain, all the business ARR and and things like that. In terms of so between these teams. But from the customer standpoint, the experiences across all these teams, and it's a summation of all this experience that gives the customer experience. So if I were to kind of draw a diagram, there is some level of collaboration, some level of the SaaS customers data. Can we make it more visible so we get it out, so you can say that there is an element of integrations and integration solutions that we are building, which so that the data comes out, is visible. We will show it to the right thing, and then there is an element of contextuality, right? So that's where is our whole I would say value proposition, right? So you have the data, you have the apps, you have different roles. Can we show at the right context of that particular applications the right data, and when people are doing conversations, or maybe so they are doing specific works, so that will be the thing. So adjacent market is a little difficult to pinpoint, but there will be obviously that data visibility is also a core problem of a lot of CS platforms, right? But the only thing is the CS platform is always limited to the CS teams. What we are thinking is like, hey, like I said, customer first means this data needs to be more transparent, so that other people also are well aligned to the problem. So can we show it to more and more people so that they understand and they collaborate more? And I saw a lot of value add when we make the systems like your NPS systems very transparent, so that people can collaborate. I didn't have to push the product team. A lot of the product features used to come out because of the NPS being very, very transparent, and people are collaborating on that. So things like that. So yeah, we as a solution is also evolving to kind of say that what is our sweet spot. Yeah, so that's a brief about the market landscape. Not very clear at this stage. We are in between the CS collaboration and building something around the customer first culture.
Right. So yeah. So to add to this, Shankar, I think so. One of the area, and maybe I'll also get into the question of how do we see this evolving, right? So I would like to take it in two ways. Obviously, things will continue to evolve as we go forward. So one is obviously we would like to position ourselves as I say, sort of a single glass of pane in terms of data coming in from various objects. Like today, organizations are struggling to sort of create a central sort of source of truth, and those projects continue to happen. What we feel as a sidestep is if we can give users the data from multiple platforms. For example, you're getting the account data from your CS tool, you're getting the account data from your CRM, Salesforce, and as well as from your Zendesk. And if as a CSM, I can see those three views, and I can take those subsequent calls, right? Whether it's the renewals or the health coming in, or the NPS data, or various tickets getting escalated, and that I can sort of escalate, bubble up within the organization. That is where I think so our objective will be met if we can create that sort of a single glass of pane in terms of data visibility, and create quick action rather than say some sort of a data mining and sort of a post analysis, right? How do we do that real time? Right. The second element on top of that is, I think so something which we are very focused is around the AI element of it. How do we bring in more intelligence? One is, since we are inside the app running on top of the application and then data flowing in, we would like to bring in more and more intelligence into how do we bubble up the right data for the end user to sort of take the business decisions as they proceed with their customers, right? So what we are also sort of building the point is around account-based conversations, right? So account becomes one of the pivotal area of what we will eventually mature into. And for an account, as a CSM or as a sales accounts team, I will be able to use AppEQ for getting the right context, and then maybe talk to the right team at the context of the data.
So, Rajat, without risking any company secrets, would you be able to share a couple of key product features that, that AppEQ will be, is working on and will be releasing before the end of the year?
Yes, sure. So one of the things which is, I mean, short, quick wins, I would say, which we are right now working on is a quick way of tagging accounts. So something which we are, since as I was mentioning, we are working on top of the browser, on top of the application. We will be able to figure that out on which application, for which account a conversation is happening or a particular ticket is happening on Zendesk, and then club those two with the data which is coming from the CRM, right? And bubble up the urgencies. For example, one of the use cases we hear from support teams is they don't have time to go and check out where is the renewal or what's the AR at risk, right? They are in too much of rush. And if we can give those quick bites to them in the context of their, say, Zendesk, and say this account is up for renewal in next 2 months, and maybe it will be right for us to prioritize this on urgency. So that is something which we are building in, and in the next couple of months we should have some early sort of quick wins for our end users to leverage on that.
Okay, excellent. That definitely sounds like a useful thing for the support team to know, because having managed support teams before, as you said, there's so much in the weeds, as to like, oh, this issue was it in a Netscape browser or Firefox or whatever the issue is, and then they don't even think about these things. And so anything that can inject that level of business intelligence, if I may use the word, into their working of the ticket, I think that will go a long way in trying to lower the temperature, not just outside with the customer, but also within the team, because I've seen CSMs get all upset. Why did they not work on this ticket when its renewal is coming up, and they will spend all the time on this other thing? I could have managed that customer, and they are, great friends with me, and all I needed to do was buy one more beer for this guy and we would have been good. But now I have to go to my boss and explain. So I've seen those kinds of role plays happen firsthand. So that is definitely, something that I think everybody would be able to take advantage of. So moving, gears a little bit, in terms of, the timing, like why now, which is kind of a question that a lot of, investors ask, startup founders. So why was this the right time?
Yeah,
Manu,
I mean, I'll probably take that. I think that.
Manu, would you like to take that?
Yeah, I will take that. I think it's firstly, I think it's the right time because of the whole ecosystem of SaaS becoming very mainstream now, right? So it's like maybe I guess 4 or 5 years before SaaS is still adopted, but it may not be a lot of a lot of people still have things telling that, okay, can we make it on-prem, and is it safe and things like that. But now it's like, hey, SaaS means it's something which it's okay that there is not So I think it's become mainstream, and most of the enterprises are also open to SaaS model, and the budgeting cycle has been evolved to tackle the whole subscription kind of a model in the whole budgeting cycle. So it's a very interesting time for SaaS, and along with SaaS, like say, as SaaS grows, the ecosystems also brings in certain challenges. Like say in the previous organization, it was around, hey, how do you drive adoption, right? So that SaaS, and a lot of it is around SaaS adoption and enterprise apps that you bring in. How do you bring adoption? Because we have spent a lot of money on this particular solutions, if people are not adopting, then this project is going to fail. So it's important that then similarly, you have a lot of SaaS management software that has come in and says that, hey, you have a lot of SaaS systems, but do you have control on all the licensing and the money that you're spending? So then the whole SaaS management system starts getting some level of traction. So similarly, we feel that the whole, with this, a better way of trying to make sure people are more productive on SaaS across teams, because especially for customer-facing teams, because the customer-facing teams, the process for the customer is generally over across teams. It is not truncated, in one particular team. Maybe for finance team, it's like, okay, you raise something, they follow the thing, whatever is the thing on the SaaS, and it is done with. But for customer-facing team, it is across all these teams. So it's very important that across SaaS, across teams, this collaborations is there, and it's well enabled by the existing kind of infrastructure. So that would be one of the reasons why I felt that this is a very ripe time for something like an AppEQ.
Right. I mean, just to add, and as we briefly touched on the starting of it, Shankar, was the whole pandemic situation of how collaboration has become one of the sort of talked about issues. At the same time, a problem you're not fully solved, right? I mean, people won't Slack, but then there are 200 channels in Slack, and then there are notifications which are not worth of anything then, right? So those are the challenges which teams are facing today. And end of the day, either we have too many notifications and you don't know what to act on, or you don't have systems in place where it's too delayed response, which defeats the whole customer success sort of mission.
Yeah, no, I agree that is true. People are either overloaded or have to not be able to be responsive because they have turned down the dial on the notification so low that by the time you find out, it's customer has already gone from being unhappy to being severely unhappy. So the next question, Rajat, for you is why do you feel that your team is the right team for this challenge?
Sure, sure. I would say two ways. I mean, two, three things. One is both of us come from a fairly technical background, as well as we had sort of fair stint with business as well. Both of us, though we sort of by academically we have been into computer science, so we are quite hands-on with the technology. At the same time, previous roles, we had a good hands with businesses, talking to customers, and different roles. And I think so that sort of gives us that sort of sweet spot as a founding team to succeed in this, both from the product depth as well as our go-to-market understanding.
Okay, sounds good. Anything, Manu, you want to add?
One is, of course, I think we both of us are kind of have known each other, and as part of any founding team, I think it's important that the founding teams kind of understands and the drawbacks and the dynamics, right? So that, I think that's important. And the second is the kind of domain and the experience that we have brought in from our previous roles is going to help a lot in the initiative that we are taking now. So that is one of the reason why we are also very excited, and we are looking forward for subsequent steps as we progress.
Okay, excellent. So, what are, when you guys are not busy thinking about AppEQ and how AppEQ is, going to change the customer success world, what do you guys do to relax and just chill? Like, what are your favorite activities or lack of activities to do that you want to share?
I mean, for me, I love few things. if I do something, I really get into it very, and of late, and it's been there for some time, has always been gardening. I love gardening. I love, doing small creativity around, what the flowers, and making sure the flowers are watered in time and so on. So that is something which helps me to relax, think about in a lot of the solutions that actually comes about customer success in general, or the products in AppEQ. Generally, that aha moment comes from during the watering of some of the flowers.
No, actually, I can relate to that because, I like to do the same thing. So I have a little green patch. And so I kind of like to do that. And you're right. I mean, so, and I know I've read a lot of studies on that the aha moments generally will always come about when you're not actively trying to think about it. And there is some whole psychology and whatever, science behind it. But I totally agree with that. And Rajat, for you, what's your favorite thing to do to take your mind off of everything else you do?
Mostly, yes. So, reading some books. I mean, one of the things which sort of makes me interested is reading a lot of books. That is something which I prefer to do. And we can sometimes, obviously, being in the industry for some time now, you also get a chance to sort of hang out with colleagues and friends over the weekend. Since we are based out of Bangalore, uh, we have nice places to hang out here. So that is one of the activities love to do over the weekends.
Yeah, okay, no, sounds good. So as we wrap up, I'll give each of you maybe, a minute, and if there are any people who are watching who might be, interested to try out the product, what would be your elevator pitch, as they call it, a 30-second pitch to those people to come over and give AppEQ a look. Manoranjan, you want to go first and do a quick
Yeah.
elevator pitch?
I have not been very strong in my elevator pitch, but anyway, I'll give it a shot. Yeah, so I mean, for all the people out there, we are early stage. We would want to solve customer related, experience related problems. So if you are up for trying out something really new, a new approach around solving team collaboration to enable better customer experience, please come and drop a hi on my LinkedIn, or just say, drop a note at hello@appeq.ai.
Okay, thanks, Manu. Rajat, any elevator pitch from your side? Okay, I think we lost Rajat there. So it sounds good. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today, and best of luck. And I'm 100% sure that I will, not just me, but the whole CS community will hear a lot more about AppEQ in the coming days. Thank you.
Thanks, Shankar, for having us. Bye-bye.